But I think, well, let me try first, because it might go towards why you're still suspicious. First of all, I agree with you that I don't think Jordan should, I don't think he should dodge the question. Okay? So, I'll put my cards on the table because that's what you're asking for me. You're asking for me to be honest. I'm a non-theist, okay, which is neither a theist nor an atheist. A non-theist says that they reject the shared presuppositions between at least classical theism and atheism, right? That God is a kind of being, that the relationship to him is one of belief, that God is in some important ways similar to person, etc. Now, why? Why do I reject that? But let me then tell you why I'm not an atheist too. Okay? Why do I reject that? Because I've practiced deeply in multiple traditions. It's like, if you've never been to Spain and somebody tells you, like, Spain is wonderful, well, how do you, but if Spain is better than France, but if they've never left Spain. Spain is better than France, but I've never left. But if I've been to both Spain and France, and I say Spain is better than France, you pay better attention to me. So I've practiced in many traditions, and I've had profound transformations and experiences of sacredness. Now, what do I mean by sacredness? Now, I don't know what your particular conception of God is. I know that many mystics talk about God this way. My experience is a very Neoplatonic experience in the sense that what I mean by sacredness is there is an aspect to reality that, like, realness always has a moreness to it. There's an inexhaustibleness to it. I cannot, through insight, exhaust the depths of what can be discovered or uncovered about even this object right here. Everything, like Blake said, you can see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wild flower. You can hold infinity in the palm of your hand and spend eternity in an hour. I've had those experiences, but I've had them while doing Taoist practice, while deep in meditation. And that inexhaustibleness is not like a random chaos. It's an inexhaustible fount of new intelligibility. So I think for that reason, and again, and I've seen things in the Islamic traditions that say things like this. And I don't know if it's heretical tonight, so I don't mean any offense. But God is no thing. There's the no thingness of God. God is not any kind of thing. And so I think that part of, for example, like what makes a video game more real to people is if it has that moreness, that they can keep uncovering more, and when they uncover more, it makes more sense to them. So for me, science actually points that out about reality. The people like Dawkins, that Hamza rightly criticizes, are idolatrous. And I use that term seriously. Like, this set of beliefs is done, that's it. My experience is what science shows is that reality, like the Tao Te Ching says about the Tao, it is a well that is used but never used up. And so I've had radical experiences that transformed, experiences of overwhelming oneness, what I properly call mystical. I've had many of these. And when I compare them to people in various traditions, and I don't mean just abstractly, I mean in close, respectful discussion, there seems to be deep resonance, mutual understanding. But I cannot find any tradition that I can privilege that for. So I'm a non-theist. Now, that's why I'm hesitant. I don't want, and this is what I want to say as well. I believe strongly, given what I've just said, I think it's an implication of what I'm arguing for, that there are things that will be symbolic for a particular tradition that are indispensable for that tradition to experience the sacred. Let me give you an analogy of what I mean. English is indispensable to me. If you take it away from me, I can't think of reason. Does that mean I think that everybody has to speak English in order to be a cognitive agent? No. But it's indispensable to me. I literally can't live without it. But that's not the same as concluding that everybody has to be speaking English to be a cognitive agent. That's my reason for being a non-theist. Because, right, and by the way, as a scientist, the evidence lines up with this. People, and we have all kinds of measures for this, so you'll just have to trust me on this, because, right? Of how wise people are becoming. Now, what's a strong predictor of how wise you become? Path immersion. How much you commit to a spiritual path and stick to it. All the spiritual traditions outperform the atheists in the ability to become wiser. But what you don't find is any significant difference between the various paths in how wise the people become within them. You have to commit. You have to immerse yourself in the path, because that reliably does better than the non-spiritual people, than the people who self-declare as atheists. It does. But the Buddhists and the Muslims, neither one outperforms the other. So from my point of view, it's like, I can't conclude that this, but I can also conclude why, and this is why and I mean this sincerely, why I deeply respect people in the tradition. From my point of view, I know you're not going to agree with what I'm going to say, but I'm explaining my position. From my point of view, your secret symbols very likely are deeply indispensable to you, and you cannot live without them. And that's why I do not trespass against them. That's my answer. So I'm not giving a Jordan answer. I'm not dodging. I'm telling you what I believe and why I believe. And I'm also trying to explain to you why I really do respect what you have.